Welcome to our Thinking into Results Lesson 1 review, Setting and Achieving Worthy Goals. So if you're currently in this program, I also want to take the opportunity to thank you once again for investing in yourself. You have everything you need to reach any worthy goal you set for yourself. If you are new to the program, I record a lesson review for each lesson and use the weekly Zoom calls to answer questions about the lesson. If you follow the program and devote an hour of your undivided attention per day to the study of this information, the results are going to blow your mind. I'm living proof of that, and soon you will be too. It's a privilege to be able to facilitate this program for you. And if you're not in my program and you're not getting what you want in life, do book a call with me or come to my Saturday Zoom call where I can help you discover what you really, really want. The link is in the description. Now let's have a little fun with this. Here's the thing. You can have anything you want, but it's very important that you get clear on what that is for you. And that's what lesson 1 is all about. At a minimum, you should watch the lesson video every day, read the participant guide, chip away at the exercise questions, and then watch the lesson video again at the end of the day. I will tell you this. Every time I go through this program and start answering questions from these lessons, it causes a shift in me. And you can expect to see a shift in you too if you study this information like a scientist. Again, it's the exercises that really make the shifts take place because it causes you to think. You may find that over the 2-week period we spend on each lesson, you may answer the exercise questions more than once, and that's fine. So block out time on your calendar, make an appointment with yourself, and try to keep that appointment. The more you put into this, the more you're going to get out of it. So let's start by going over the lesson review agenda. Okay, so I'm going to introduce lesson 1, Setting and Achieving Worthy Ideals. Then we're going to watch the lesson 1 video. And then next, I'm going to cover the key points, introduce the worksheets for lesson 1, then we're going to wrap it up. The first thing, which I think is vitally important to understand, is the definition of success. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. In other words, be working toward a worthy ideal, a vision, a purpose, a want, some kind of idea that you're really in love with. And you progressively move toward that idea. If you've created a sufficiently powerful goal, one you have no idea how you're going to make happen, it's common to feel like you're falling way short of it. But don't you let that dream die. Every step forward is important. As long as you're taking actions towards your goal, it's all going to click and you're going to find yourself achieving these worthy ideals you've set for yourself. As long as you're getting up every day and taking action towards your goal, that's success. The fact that you even have a goal sets you apart from most people. It doesn't make you better than anyone else, but it does set you apart from people who might not have a goal. This lesson, in my opinion, is probably the most important one because it sets your direction. If you haven't given much thought to this idea of a worthy goal before going through this program, you may need to allow the goal to come to you as you continue through the lessons. Ask yourself a few questions about your goal. Are my current goals making me excited and energized? Do my goals belong to me or do they belong to someone else? Sometimes people set goals based on what they think someone else or society feels is important. But I want you to remember something. You are a goal-seeking organism. Human beings want to grow. They want to do more, be more, and have more. We, by nature, are always seeking an objective. And sometimes we avoid admitting to ourselves what we really want to do and adopt what someone else wants for us. So ask yourself, what do you really, really want? This is not necessarily the easiest thing to come up with. So let's watch the lesson 1 video. What I created here is a study guide for every lesson in the Thinking into Results program. And you can feel free to share this lesson 1 with whoever you'd like. And then if they'd like to talk with me about getting into the program, they can click on the Let's Talk button over here and schedule an appointment. So let's listen to the lesson and then we'll come back and get into the lesson exercises.
Hello there and welcome. I want to congratulate you for taking part in this program, Thinking into Results. You know, you probably think this just has to do with your work, but it really doesn't. This has to do with your family. It has to do with your social life, your health. It has to do with your life. I began studying this material close to 50 years ago. My life has changed so dramatically. I live in a healthy body. I'm happy. I'm wealthy. I have friends all over the world. And I have business all over the world. And it's all because of this material. You have absolutely no idea where this is going to take you. And when we talk about results, let's understand this. It's what we think that ultimately manifests as results. Now, that may seem like a bit of an exaggeration or maybe even a fairy tale to you at this point. But as you start to study it, you're going to realize it's not an exaggeration and it's not a fairy tale. It's real. So take this program seriously. Your leaders are going to give you something that you're going to be grateful for the rest of your life. I am forever grateful every day to have this information, because you see, I'm in charge of me, I'm in charge of my world, and you're going to take charge of your world. You'll no longer be a victim of circumstance or a victim of any kind, because you're going to take responsibility for your life and the results you get. We never have to blame, we never have to look at anybody else, and we're in control of how we think, how we feel, how we act, and therefore the results we get. You're going to start loving how you spend your days when you've got thinking into results in your pocket and in your mind. Enjoy it.
Hello, I'm Sandy Gallagher, your partner on this journey, Thinking into Results. When I first met Bob Proctor, I was already a successful business attorney, and I thought my life couldn't get much better, but it did. My life has expanded dramatically. I've learned a lot from Bob since we first met. He got me to shift my thinking and see the relationship of my mind to my behavior and my results. Bob Proctor is widely considered one of the greatest teachers in the world on the topic of human potential and growth. He's worked with many of the top companies around the world, from banks to airlines to insurance companies to computer giants like IBM. Working with Bob generates phenomenal results. One of the most valuable concepts that Bob taught me is the importance of setting goals. Not just any goal, not a goal you know how to achieve. I'm talking about a goal, a dream, a vision, something you think, something you know, in fact, is beyond your experience today. Because the true purpose of a goal is to help you grow in your awareness of yourself and of your team. What are your dreams? What are your aspirations? What are your goals? Let's see how you can begin thinking in a new and powerful way and begin discovering your true purpose in life. Are you ready?
The lesson that we're going to do right now could have a greater impact on your life than anything else. It certainly did on mine. You receive a little goal card. This is where you sit down and write out what you want on a card. And then you carry it loose in your purse or your pocket. Now on one side we've got here, change is inevitable, but personal growth is a choice, and it is. Do you know that you could wander up and down the streets of any city, anywhere in the world, and ask one person after another, what is their goal? And they'll look at you, and odds are pretty good they'll say, what do you mean? And if by chance you find someone that has a clearly defined goal, ask if they've got it in writing. And again, odds are pretty good they won't. If you decide what you want, and you write it on the card, and you carry it with you, I guarantee you it must happen. It absolutely must happen in your life. Now, why do we have goals? See, the average individual would say we have a goal to get more. You know, get a better house, get a bigger house, get a boat, get more money. No. That may be a result of the goal. You may, accumulate more in your life and nicer and better things. But the real purpose of a goal is to grow. It causes you to draw something out of yourself that you didn't even know was there. Now, when we set a goal, we're going after something we want. And if you know how to reach it, it's the wrong goal. Now, that probably sounds pretty silly. When you set a goal, you're going after something you want. And if you know how to reach it, it's probably the wrong goal. You're going sideways. I always mention that goals fall into three categories. I refer to it as A, B, and C. A-type goals are doing something you already know how to do. And I use an example in a program that I wrote about a young man that came to me and he asked me if I'd talk to him about his goal. And I said, sure, what's your goal? He said, I want to get a new car. And I said, well, that's okay. I said, what kind of a car do you want? He said, a new Pontiac. I said, well, Pontiac's a nice car. I've had a Pontiac. And I said, what are you driving now? And he said, a Pontiac. Really? I said, how long have you had it? And he said, 4 years. I said, how old's the Pontiac? He said, 4 years old. And I said, then what you're telling me is that you have had a new Pontiac that you bought 4 years ago. You bought it new. He said, that's right. And I said, that's not a good goal, because you've known for 4 years how to do that. There's going to be no growth attached to it. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't get a new Pontiac, but it would not constitute a goal. A goal is something that you're going to go after you've never done before. Now, when people move away from A-type goals, they generally go to B-type goals. And that's where they sit down and they gather all the information they've got, all the resources they've got, and they say, if all these things happen, then I could accomplish this. And they make a plan. They've got an absolutely beautiful plan. They've got the plan, and if all these things happen, then I can accomplish this. This is what they think they can do. You see, the A-type is what they know they can do. B is what they think they can do. Now, do you know that there's no inspiration in going after something like that? Absolutely none. And if you're going to really accomplish something, you're going to have to be inspired. You're going to have to pull on something that you haven't pulled on before. I mean, it's going to have to come from inside. See, people go after B-type goals, they get going, and they get bored, they're not inspired, and so they quit, they give up. Now, the C-type goal is wants. And what you want, I'm talking about what you really want. Most people say, I don't know what I want. I don't believe that. I think you do know what you want. I think you're rejecting it before you give it any serious thought. To decide what you want, you've got to sit down and totally relax. And then you have to let your imagination wander. When you're going after wants, you're dealing with fantasy. See, the one, you're going after what you know. The other one, you're going after what you think you can do. And the wants is fantasy. Now, we have been conditioned as kids that fantasy is just for little kids. You don't fantasize. You've got to know how things are going to happen. But you see, you and I are the only creature on the planet, so far as we know, that can fantasize. Ed Hillary fantasized that he would stand on top of the world and he climbed Mount Everest. The Wright brothers, a couple of ordinary bicycle mechanics, they fantasized they'd introduce us to a new kingdom, and they did. Now think of this for a moment. What do you fantasize? See, as a little kid you could fantasize, and your mother and dad let you do that because it got you out under their feet. You'd sit down in front of the kitchen cupboards with pots and pans, and God knows only what you did with it. But then you went to school. Bob, pay attention. You see, your mind's wandering. Will you quit looking out the window and listen to what I'm telling you? And you see, we'd get punished, and pretty soon we stopped fantasizing. We put our imagination away, and we stopped using it. Do you know, Napoleon Hill said the imagination is the most marvelous, miraculous, inconceivably powerful force the world has ever known. Don't you find it strange that we have great, huge companies, big multinationals, with small creative departments? We have people wandering around and say, well, I'm not really creative. Writers are creative, musicians are, but I'm really not creative. Everyone is creative. Creativity comes from the root creator, which is within. Everybody's creative. It's a matter, are you expressing your creativity? Well, don't let people steal your dream. When you sit down and decide what you want, you won't know how you're going to get it. The fun is in finding out how you're going to do it. When I set a goal, if it doesn't sort of scare me, I know I'm on the wrong track. See, if you know how you do it, you're going to go sideways. You've got to build a fantasy. You take the fantasy and you move it from fantasy to a theory. You keep playing with it.
And you go from fantasy to a theory, and you take and you build an image, and just follow the pyramid that we've got here for you, and you turn it into a theory. Now that is when we're giving our fantasy some serious consideration. We're starting to use our reasoning mind, and we're starting to give this some serious thought. Now, before we can turn the theory into a goal, we have to ask ourselves a couple of things. Am I able to do this? Am I able? Well, if we believe everything we've been taught by both science and theology, the only two sources of reference we have to go to, we have deep reservoirs of talent. We have infinite potential. Absolutely, I'm able. I don't know how, but I'm able. The second question we have to ask, am I willing? Am I willing to pay the price? Am I willing to do what I have to do to get to where I'm going? See, Ed Hillary had to go to Nepal in 1951, in 1952, and 1953. No one had ever been to the top of Mount Everest. Everyone in the world told him it couldn't be done. Anybody that tried died. But he kept going back. He was willing to do whatever was required, and he got to the top of that mountain. Have you any idea how those two young bicycle mechanics, the Wright brothers, were ridiculed? Told to quit wasting time? Have you any idea how many times people laughed at Edison when he said what he was going to do? He was going to make this incandescent light. Do you know he failed about 10,000 times? He was willing to do that. See, failing at something doesn't make you a failure. You're only a failure when you stop. You could ask, am I able to do this? Yeah, I'm able. Am I willing? Yeah, I'm willing. I am willing to pay the price. At that second, your theory turns into a goal. Now, as you get emotionally involved in the goal, you're going to find that your emotional involvement is going to change your behavior. Yet you're going to find as your behavior changes, the results start to change. And your theory turns into a fact. And once you reach the goal, it turned into a fact. That puts you in a position to build bigger and better fantasies. Now, let's back up a bit. How do you decide what you want? See, that's a pretty big idea. You've got to sit down as an individual and start writing all your wants down. Make it a shopping list. See, I think there's two goals people should have. They should have a personal goal, and then they should have a corporate goal. You might want to sit down with your peers in your department and say, what could we accomplish in this department? It could be the sales department. It might be, as a group, collectively, take the sales to a point that would shock the executives in the company. Yet could be in the machine shop. Let's make this place the most effective machine shop in the world. Yet could be in the accounting department. Let's make sure everything's right on tap. They're goals. And as we work towards them, we unify our energies. We work together, but we're working towards a point. See, when people are working towards something, they're alive. If they're just working, they don't have any fun. So we've got to sit down and we've got to decide, what do I really want? And start to make a list. You're capable of doing anything. And what we're really doing is raising our level of conscious awareness. And you're going to find when you decide on the thing on the list that you want more than anything, that becomes the star you're shooting at. That's what's written on the card. That becomes the goal. It might be an income, it might be a position, it might be a new home, it might be a trip. That becomes the goal. Yeah, that's what you work towards. And you're forever trying to become more effective so you can raise your consciousness and you become aware of how to do it. It's the same in a department. And we have a masterminding session, a brainstorming session. How can we make this department more effective than it is? Now, you're going to find possibly someone say, well, I'm not doing that. Well, then that's okay. They're not part of the group. Don't let another person dictate how you're going to live. Don't let conditions or circumstance dictate. It has nothing to do with what's going on outside of you. It's what's going on inside. George Bernard Shaw said that people are always blaming circumstance for where they are. He said, I don't believe in circumstance. The people that get on in this world are the people who get up and look for the circumstances they want, and if they can't find them, they make them. So you absolutely refuse to let anything that's going on outside stop you. Do you know, there's a cute story about the Maharishi and yoga when he was taking his transcendental meditation to the world, or planning to. Someone asked him, well, where's all the money going to come from? He said, wherever it is right now. See, nothing's created or destroyed. If nothing's created or destroyed, everything's already here, if not in one state or another. The way to fly airplanes has always been here. Internet, it's always been here. We just weren't aware of how to do it. And as we raise our conscious awareness, we've got it. Nothing is created or destroyed. All science and all theology have taught us that for years. Now, when we really start to understand that, we live in an ocean of motion. We're living in a constant evolution of change. But remember when I said personal growth is a choice. You've got to have a goal. You've got to wake up in the morning and get excited. I'm working towards my goal. That's what I'm doing right now, is I'm creating this program with you. I'm working towards a goal. I have a business partner, Sandy Gallagher. She wants to build this worldwide, the corporate division. And so that's what we're doing. That's what we're working towards. That's why we're spending time here right now, building this program. So help you. See, the only way to reach the goal is to provide greater service. And as you provide greater service, you're going to grow. You're going to move ahead. Things inside of you are going to start to happen. An individual that doesn't have a goal is lost. They don't know where they're going. Can you imagine going on a trip and you don't know where you're going? Somebody say, well, where are you going to go? I don't know, west. Where? I mean, you could be going around the world and just going around the world and around the world. Well, where are you going? I'm going west. Well, when you get there, you still can go west. Imagine driving out of your driveway. You've got no destination. Which way would you turn? You see, we're goal-seeking organisms, every one of us. Have you ever watched a little baby? The baby's goal is to walk. It falls, it bangs its head, it cries, it bleeds, but it doesn't stay down. It gets up and it gets going. And pretty soon, it's, look, Mom, I'm walking. Then they get on a bike. And the trick is to balance it, learn how to ride. Pretty soon it's, look, Mom, no hands. But you know what your goal is? Your goal, your real purpose in life is to grow. You want to sit down and ask yourself, what do you really love to do? That's what you're going to get good at. That's what your purpose is going to be all about. That's what your goal is all about. Move toward what you want. Have a personal goal, have a corporate goal. Now, your personal goal and your corporate goal in your department should be consistent with the corporate goal that the executive team set. So you want to make sure, as you go towards the big one, that all your little ones will fall into place. And I guarantee you, you'll set something on fire inside of you that there's nothing like it. Goal achievers are productive individuals. They're happy, they're productive, they're prosperous. They're the ones that make the world change. Don't listen to people that tell you why something can't be done. Don't listen to people that tell you the economy is controlling them. You control the economy. You're God's highest form of creation. Steve Bowe, who was a vice president with the Metropolitan Life Insurance Company, said one time something that I have never forgot. He said, God's gift to us is more talent and ability than we'll ever hope to use in our lifetime. Our gift to God is to develop as much of that talent and ability as we can in this lifetime. I like that. You might want to take and memorize that. It's done me a lot of good. Now I've shared it with you. Set your goal. Get it on your card. Bury it in your mind. Tell yourself, I'm able and I'm willing, and then go and do it. This is Bob Proctor. Thank you.
I'd like to congratulate you on taking this first step towards thinking into results. Now that you know a lot more about setting goals, the right kind of goals, what do you do next? You take action, because that's where the learning really begins. Without action, goals are just fantasies. So sit down with your coworkers, take some time and ask them, if we had all the resources we needed and there were no limitations or restrictions, what would we want to accomplish together as a department? It's really a great opportunity to collaborate and be creative, because everyone wins by coming together for a common goal, and everyone soars when those common goals are big, worthy goals. So good luck, and I'll see you at the next lesson.
Wasn't that great? God, I really miss Bob. He passed away back in February this year. And boy, what a great guy. I mean, really, he's just a terrific guy. And this stuff is so valuable that he's sharing with us and that I get to share with you. So in the lesson, Bob talked about how he believes everyone knows what they want, but we spend more time discounting it as impossible and less time allowing ourselves the opportunity of entertaining the idea that it's possible. This quote by Steve Bow really sums it up. He says, God's gift to us is more talent and ability than we'll ever hope to use in our lifetime. And our gift to God is to develop as much of that talent and ability as we can in this lifetime. So let's review some key points. A lot of people get hung up on the idea of a C-type goal. We overwhelm ourselves with these goals. So just remember, a goal is something that you're going after that you've never done before. A goal is designed to help you grow. It causes you to draw something from yourself that you didn't even know was there. And if you know how to reach the goal isn't going to do for you what goals are designed to do. If you're really going to accomplish something, you're going to need to be inspired by going after something you really want. And it's going to have to come from inside. If you have a desire, it means you have the talent and ability to go after it. Otherwise, you wouldn't have the desire. Desire is just an unexpressed possibility within, seeking expression without. You simply need to want it. So as Bob was saying in the video, there's 3 types of goals, and there's A, B, and C. And the A-type goals are doing something you already know how to do. And the B-type goals are doing something you think you can do. And the C-type goals are your wants, what you really want. Type C goals come from your fantasies and are originated through the effective use of the imagination. I think people get kind of tripped up on the fantasy part. So let's say they're making 50K a year and they want to make 50 million a month. So you kind of set yourself up for failure. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't go after the 50 million per month, but make sure those fantasy goals are going with and through you. Also, don't make the mistake of having someone else's goal. Okay, so a lot of times you think what other people would like you to do is what you should be doing, but really you should be looking within yourself and find out, what do you really, really want? And don't make it complicated. As long as it meets the 2 criteria, it's all good. The first one is you've never done it before. And number 2, it's going to cause you to grow. So remember, there's purpose, there's vision, and then there's goals. So your purpose is getting up every morning and doing what you love to do. That's living on purpose. Your vision is a picture of what your life looks like a month from now, 3 months from now, 6 months from now, a year from now, 10 years from now. So in order to see a vision of your life long-term, you have to get up higher. Bob used the example of going up in a tall office building. And if you go up to the 10th floor, you can only see so far. So you get up to the 30th floor and you can see a little more. The broader your vision, the higher you got to get up. So you have this vision or picture of how you want your life to look like, and you're moving toward that vision. So in order to get to it, you got to hit goals along the way. So goals are targets that are leading you to create that vision for your life and to live on purpose. So you might start with a 30-day goal or a 90-day goal, leading you to your C-type goal. We want to kind of ignore these A and B type goals because they're not inspiring. One is something that you already know how to do, and the second is something that you think you can do. You can figure it out. Okay, you want to get beyond those. Those are not inspiring, because something you've already done, you'll just get bored with it. And something that you know how to do, it's too easy. Doesn't help you grow at all. So you want to stick here with these fantasy C-type goals. Okay, so one of mine is I created a little course, and I want to sell 200,000 of those courses. Okay, so that's a great big C-type goal. I have no idea how I'm going to do it. Okay, so you want to break that down into, like he says, you set it into a 30-day goal or a 90-day goal that's leading you towards your C-type goal. So when I said I wanted to sell 200,000 copies of my course to people, I might want to break that down. So I might say in the next 30 days, I want to sell 200. Okay. And so that's a smaller goal but it's leading me towards my C-type goal. You get it? So anyway, so I want to go over the worksheets and then give you a little exercise to do. Okay, so the worksheets are meant as an activity that challenge you to immediately apply what you've learned. And the worksheets are an essential part of the Thinking into Results program. Each time you watch the lesson, you should also complete the lesson worksheets. It's very easy to procrastinate on the worksheets. And they're very simple, okay? The worksheets ask you questions which will get you thinking. That's the whole point of the worksheets, is to get you thinking, okay? The worksheets are where the magic happens. So just a little warning, you will eventually become a little resistant to the worksheets. It's very easy to put them off because you start looking at them and your paradigm resists because it's a habit that you haven't formed yet. So you might say to yourself, man, that's a really tough question. And really, there's no tough questions at all. It's your paradigm saying it's a tough question. It's the way you've been taught to learn that it must be difficult. This will cause you to procrastinate on the exercises. But if you get your pen out and a sheet of paper and say, I'm doing these exercises no matter what, magically answers will start to come. So the worksheets are an integral part of the program. Otherwise, it's just another class you're watching. It's all about taking action. And in the context of thinking into results, the action is doing the exercises and then doing action steps that come from the exercises. Okay, so let's take about 15 minutes or so, 20 minutes maybe, and I'll put on some soft music. And I want you to take this opportunity to get out your participant's guide and read lesson 1. And when you're reading it, as you get to the questions in the lesson, just kind of read them and just acknowledge them. Okay, don't try to complete them while you're doing this reading. Just acknowledge them and think about them a little bit as don't just kind of gloss over them. Read the question and get it in your mind. And then later, after we come back, we're going to go through and talk a little bit more about the worksheets. Okay, so enjoy that, and we'll see you in about 20 minutes. Okay, so welcome back. So the exercises start. Oh, let me get rid of this. Okay, so welcome back. Hopefully you took the time to read that lesson, because it's really important that you do that. And you want to do this with every lesson in the Thinking into Results program. And the study guides are going to give some time there for you to read through, because it just puts you in a different space. And if you study this information like a scientist, I'm telling you, it's going to blow your mind. So the questions start on page 3, and there's 4 questions to get you started. And it says the great secret of progress lies in belief. Therefore, we must ask and demand answers to these questions. The only challenge you face really in getting where you want to go is your beliefs. That's it. So your belief about whether you can do it, your belief about whether you have the talent and ability, your belief about whether you can find all the resources that you need, your belief in this information. That's all it is. It's simply your beliefs. So many of us have conflict going on inside. The conflict is what you really, really want is contradictory to your beliefs. So you feel resistant and you make up excuses and alibis. And they're justifiable. You can justify them with some evidence and some facts. You ask other people for their opinions of what they think. And of course, their beliefs and their perceptions and view comes out. And then you listen to them and away you go. So what happens is you feel this resistance and this conflict because your beliefs are contradictory to the want. We've been living with these beliefs so long, we think the beliefs are true. We very rarely give consideration to the possibility of what Steve Vo said in that quote. He says, we've been gifted with more talent and ability than we could ever use in one lifetime. And when you were little, you believed you could do anything. The sky was the limit. But then, you got talked out of it so far back that you could barely remember. And now you're locked into the beliefs you have now. And of course, you operated with those beliefs and you got confirmation that those beliefs are true, and you ended up where you are. And it's all based on beliefs. So we've got to take a look at our beliefs. So we get to the first question. And the first question is, do I have good, sound reasons for my beliefs? Now, if you were unaware of this information, you'd go, absolutely, I do. So I'd ask, tell me some of the beliefs you have around money. And people really don't know what to say. Yeah, I work with salespeople a lot, and I ask them, what do you think about salespeople? And you should see the looks on their faces, and you should have seen the look on my face as I asked myself that question as I got into this business. So do I have good, sound reasons for my beliefs? So your answer might be, yeah, for some of them, but I really want you to think about all the beliefs you have. Bob said one time, there's man-made rules and beliefs, and then there's nature-made rules and beliefs, and most rules are man-made. So the next question, where do my beliefs come from? Well, you know the answer to that. They come from your conditioning, they come from your environment, they come from what your parents taught you about what life's all about. They come from when you go to school and what they teach you, what your people in your city, the kinds of things that go on in your community. It all points to where your beliefs come from. So the third question is, would changing my beliefs improve my life? But would they? You might want to expand on that a little bit. How would your life improve? Just think about one belief you inherited or you adopted that's conflicting with what it is you want. How would your life change if you changed that one belief? And the last question, how do I change my beliefs? So how do you change your beliefs? The exact same way that they were drilled into you. They were drilled into you by repetition. So some of you got yelled at, some of you got spanked, some of you got hit, some of you were criticized, put down, some of you were encouraged and boosted up, and some of us both. All of our beliefs were drilled into us by repetition. And the good news is you don't have to worry about all that. When you were little and you started taking in information, you took it in with no real resistance until you started building your intellect and realized you didn't really agree with this. So you fought back. And of course, the parents would fight back because you were little and they were stronger and they won. But it doesn't take much effort to drill in new beliefs, but it does take repetition. But you got to remember, you got somebody on the inside that has a totally other set of beliefs to install. You've got this self-image, this concept of yourself and all these other beliefs that are going to throw up this resistance. So just remember that, because that's what's going to happen. So as you answer these questions, many of your old beliefs will fall to pieces, and that could be a little bit uncomfortable. As the beliefs fall to pieces, you're going to want to pick up the pieces and try to put them all together again because you're comfortable with that. And you don't even like the way you're living, some of you, but you've gotten used to it. So it gives you some sense of comfort and some sense of security to go back to that safe spot, okay, before you started having any kind of fantasies. So really take those questions seriously. So what you're going to do in lesson 1, which is on page 5, there's a diagram. It has C-type goals, B-type goals, and A-type goals. And what most people do is they don't even think of the C-type goals. They just think of the A and B-type goals. And most people just think about goals. They don't try to do them. They just think of them. And they never think about the big stuff, unless maybe when they buy a lottery ticket, they do. Then they really start thinking about C-type goals. So it's very rare that we think about fantasy goals. We stay at the A and B levels. So what you got to do when you're coming up with a C-type goal is you got to eliminate the A and B type goals. You got to tell yourself that. You've got to correct yourself. Like I'm working on a goal right now. Okay, and I mentioned it. And I have 2 words that I use to bring me back to that goal. And that's and those 2 words for me are contributing to humanity. That's 3 words, I guess. So anyway, contributing to humanity. That's my contribution. What I'm doing here is my contribution to humanity. Okay, so when I remind myself of that, it keeps me going and it turns me into that person that's a contribution to humanity. So anyway, if that makes any sense, that's what I do to keep me focused on becoming the person, because remember, the purpose of the goal is to grow. Okay, so as long as you're growing, you're going to grow. If you're going to grow, then you're going to grow into something that isn't you now. Okay, so you want to be there. So if I'm a contribution to humanity and I'm affecting 200,000 people, I've got to be a completely different person than I used to think I was before having that type of fantasy. All right. And you're going to find the same is true for you. Now, you don't have to go change the world. I mean, your C-type goal doesn't have to be something where you're changing the world or you're doing you invented a new cancer cure or something like that. It could be, okay, because you could have anything. It's infinite. Okay. But the C-type goal is something, when you think about it, it's something you love to do. And it's something that you don't know how to do. And it's kind of unbelievable because you're going, oh my God, how's that going to happen? So anyway, on page 6, there's a simple diagram that starts with fantasy. And there's a little triangle that says fantasy, theory, and fact. So the fantasies are ideas that come from your imagination. And what you got to do is you're going to have to make a decision. So nothing's going to happen if you just sit around thinking about it. So in order to trigger the decision, you ask yourself a couple of questions. Am I able and am I willing? Okay, and as soon as you ask those questions and the answer is yes, you're going to feel a little bit uncomfortable, especially because now you kind of put yourself on the hook, right, for this fantasy that you're thinking about. That's okay. Just be a little bit uncomfortable, but answer the questions, am I able and am I willing? And we go back to that quote by Jim Bowe, right? He says, you've been given more talent and ability that you'll ever use in one lifetime. Okay, and you've been given that by nature. Okay, so you are able. There's no question about your ableness. Okay, so really the only question you have to ask yourself is am I willing? Okay, and as long as your answer is yes, That's when you begin to become a little bit uncomfortable because now you've set things into motion, and that's become a goal. So the goal is going to have to be within the laws of nature, and it's going to have to be something that you can physically accomplish. So am I able is easy to answer. Yes, you're able. Am I willing? That's a little more difficult because our paradigm, our self-image, and our concept of our abilities might want to trigger us to second guess our willingness. So really, it's, are you willing to do what it takes? That's the question. If you can say yes, a committed yes, and an irrevocable yes, then the theory starts to show up as a goal. And you'll get some ideas. Some of the how to achieve this goal will already be in. And you'll get some ideas. And some of the how to achieve this goal will already be in the forefront of your mind, but not everything. You definitely will not see the whole plan if it's something you've never done before. But you'll have enough ideas to get you moving on the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. So when you say yes, and it's committed, then you start to get ideas or theories on how you can achieve the goal. And as you start playing with and acting on those ideas, the goal becomes a fact. Earl Nightingale said, you move towards the goal and the goal moves towards you. So for instance, if I'm in San Francisco, and I am, and I want to go to Detroit, all I have to do is start driving towards Detroit. So don't make it complicated. Keep it really simple. Ask yourself the questions. Am I willing and am I able? And when you commit to it, then the action steps, the theory begins to show up. Then you take action on it and it will become a fact. So the first question for the worksheet is, if someone were to stop you on the street and ask you what's your goal, how would you respond? So do you have goals and are they written down? Well, I've got my C-type goal written on my goal card. There's a little goal card right here. And I wrote my C-type goal on the back here. Well, this one's blank, but I would put my C-type goal on the card and carry it around with me in my pocket. And if someone asked me what my goal is to get to Detroit. Okay, so you convert your want to a goal through decision. So now on the answer, I'm going to get to Detroit. Well, I've expanded on that a little bit because I want to be, it's a C-type goal, right? So maybe I'm going to Detroit because I'm going to start a new business, or maybe I'm going to Detroit to invest in some real estate, or maybe I'm going to Detroit for some reason, and I don't know how it is I'm going to do whatever it is I'm going to do when I get to Detroit. But it's some reason that would constitute a C-type goal. So anyway, that's what's written on the goal card. Now, if someone asked you, where are you going? You could say, I'm going to Detroit. You don't have to say, I'm going to Detroit to go change the world, but you could, okay? But anyway, you convert your want to a goal through decision. Once you make the decision, it takes your idea and it takes your theory and turns it into a goal. Okay. So you decide you're going after it. You don't have to know how. You don't have to know the whole way. You just have to decide I'm going. So make sure you have a destination in mind, even if it's just 30 days from now. Where do you want to be at the end of May? Where do you want to be by Christmas time? That's a goal. It's a target or a destination. So what you're going to do is you're going to list your personal wants and your professional wants on a sheet of paper. And it's just a brainstorming session. And you make a laundry list of all that you wanted. Let's say I call you and I say, you won the lottery and you won $100 million. And what do you want? So pretend you're going to a gold store and it has anything in it that you want. And you just go shopping. Now, if you go over to page 10 of your participant guide, you have to pick one. Okay, out of all the wants, you got to pick one. So one professional want and one personal want. And make sure your personal goal and your professional goals are taking you in the same direction. And then once you decide on the first target, for example, if I'm going to drive to Detroit from San Francisco, It's probably a 4 to 5 day trip, and I have to figure out where I'm going to be at the end of day one first. So I got to eat, I got to sleep, I got to go get gas, I have to go to the bathroom. I'm going to make stops along the way, but I'm still on my way to Detroit. So on page 11, I'm going to write what it's like when I'm in Detroit in the present tense. So the present, Neville Goddard said this really great sentence, and I love it. And he said, the present must become the future in the imagination of one who would wisely and consciously create circumstance. So you go there in your imagination. If you go to Detroit, in my case, I go to Detroit in my imagination. And so you want to write what it's like when you're in Detroit, what you're up to. And you want to write it so someone who reads it can build an image of their mind of what you're describing. So then you want to transfer that over to your goal card in a short statement that describes the big picture. So example, I am so happy and grateful now that I'm living and working in Detroit, blah, blah, blah. Okay. The last question is, how do you feel after setting your personal and professional goals? Now, you're probably going to feel, you probably will feel just a little bit scared because it may be the first time that you've really taken a look and say, gosh, you know, what do I want? What do I really, really want in my personal life and my professional life? And it might be completely different than what you're now experiencing. And that could be a little bit scary because you also don't know how you're going to accomplish whatever it is that you've come up with. But that's okay. Just stick with me and stick through this lesson. And remember, you're going to be spending 14 days on lesson 1. So every day you're going to get a little more clearer. And if you haven't right away got to a place where you have something specific in mind for your C-type goal, that's okay, because it's like Nightingale says, it's going to come to you. It's going to come to you and you're going to come to it. Okay, it's through a process of discovery when you start thinking about what do I really, really want. Okay, so then on the bottom of page 14, there's a place to write 6 action steps that you can do right now to move towards your personal or professional goals. And so no matter what lesson you're on, you should have 6 action steps every day that you're working on every day. And you might not finish all the action steps in one day, but these are the things that you're working on. So I'm so happy that you made it through lesson 1. Do spend the next 13 days, or if this is your first time listening to it, spend the 14 days listening to the lesson video every day, morning and one time in the morning, one time in the evening. Work through the questions, figure out what your goal is and write it on your card to carry it around in your pocket. And it's all about feeling. Okay, so whatever you've written on this goal card, it should be exciting you, and you don't know how you're going to get there. Okay, so it's the feeling is the secret, as they say. So thanks for listening. You got this. Oh yeah, here's a little exercise I'm inviting you to try. So I'm going to put on some soft music again for about 10 minutes or so. We'll end the video with this. So, but I encourage you to do this exercise. Okay, so get a blank sheet of paper out and a pen and put on some soft music. Well, I'm going to play some soft music for about 5-10 minutes. Relax and continue saying to yourself out loud, what do I really, really want? Over and over and over and over. And as thoughts come to you regarding what you really, really want, write those down. What do I really, really want? And don't forget to read the decision article. There's a little article at the back of lesson 1. Let's see here. There's a decision article. Yay. And it was written by Bob Proctor himself. So give that a read as well. When I put on some music earlier, just really take that time and read the participant guide. Anyway, that's it for lesson 1. We'll see you next time, 2 weeks from now, with lesson 2. Okay, thank you.